Hello and welcome to State of the Union. I'm Stefan Grobe in Brussels. It was a bad week for democracy. In Moscow, a Russian court sent opposition leader Alexei Navalny to prison for more than 2.5 years on absurd charges that he broke his parole conditions while recovering from poisoning in Germany. And in Myanmar, the military seized power in a coup and arrested the country's civilian leader Aung San Suu Kyi. She was accused of illegally importing some walkie-talkies, a bizarre accusation that could put her in prison for 3 years. Both cases are unrelated, of course, but it shows that countries can get away with making a mockery of democratic principles. Closer to home, the European Commission kept struggling with the fallout of the slow vaccine rollout. The vaccinations are behind schedule because the vaccine makers don't deliver, because they're not producing fast enough. There is now a lot of finger-pointing going on in Europe over the handling of the crisis by the different players. EU Commission President Ursula von der Leyen tried to cut through the noise by reminding everyone what is at stake.
In diesem Geist muss man an diese Pandemie rangehen.
Our rival is the virus, and the pharmaceutical industry is part of the solution to this problem.
Ist Teil der Lösung des Problems.
Well, if the Western vaccine makers can't step up to the plate, why not go east? That's the opinion of Hungary. Budapest was the first EU government to use vaccines from Russia and China. We were the first, but it is unlikely that we will be the only ones in the European Union in this effort. After all, we hear even Western European statements urging the inspection of the effectiveness of the Russian and Chinese vaccines. Some European analysts suspect that Russia and China may use their vaccine leverage to gain geopolitical influence over other countries. But now even Germany and France can see that the origin of a vaccine is not important, as long as it has been approved by EU regulatory authorities. Speaking of geopolitics, the European Union is no stranger to attempts to gain influence in the world. This week, a couple of think tanks published a report on the geopolitical repercussions of the EU's most ambitious policy package, the Green Deal. Designed to make Europe's economy environmentally sustainable, the Green Deal entails a fundamental overhaul of the European energy system. It will have profound geopolitical consequences, some of which might be unintended. I want to bring in Susi Dennis now, Senior Fellow at the European Council on Foreign Relations and Director of the European Power Programme. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Susi, you're also in charge of all things climate policy at the Council. Walk us through the main findings of this report. How can the Green Deal change the geopolitical order?
Well, I think if achieved at its full level of ambition, the EU Green Deal changes everything. It's a really ambitious project which looks to really transform the European economy, and what that means is that this will shift European trade relationships with other actors. Those from whom we import energy, those from whom we import other raw materials, high-end goods. It will allow us, encourage us to sort of look more closely at our supply chains, and so I think that a lot of eyes from outside Europe are currently on Brussels and the other capitals as to exactly in what ways the Green Deal will affect them.
The Green Deal basically says goodbye to fossil fuels, and consequently Europe's fossil fuel providers like Saudi Arabia, Russia or Algeria will lose markets and revenues. How can EU diplomacy manage potentially negative repercussions in those countries?
We do have to be clear that there will be winners and losers in terms of provision of energy in the world to come. But the Paris Agreement is a global goal, and so this delivering the Green Deal is the EU sort of trying to deliver its part of that package, but it's also got to be sort of part of a broader global effort, because this is not something that Europe can do on its own. We're not the only carbon consumer.
Does the EU trade energy dependence on, say, Russia for energy dependence on China, as a lot of raw materials for clean technologies are coming from China. And how dangerous is that?
I don't think it is that clear-cut. I think that there will be sort of some elements of that. But look, there are other interesting markets in terms of the raw materials that are going to be necessary to renewable energy. I think Europe needs to look very closely at its relationship with African states, for example.
All right, Susi Dennis, Senior Fellow at the European Council on Foreign Relations. Thanks for breaking it all down for us.
Thanks very much.
The fight against climate change, of course, includes the protection of animals and their natural habitat. But are we paying enough attention to the well-being of our domestic animals as well? Researchers at the University of Ghent have warned, with a straight face, that cats are struggling with coronavirus measures. It's the fact that people are staying at home more often that creates disturbing changes to feline routine. Cats don't like it when, say, they want their morning nap on their favorite pillow and then someone is bashing about on a computer. There have been disturbing reports from Paris and Barcelona of lockdowns driving cats nuts. Yet one animal therapist says that it all depends on the cat. Some are overjoyed when their owners are home more often. I guess that means that cats are just like humans. That's it for this edition. I'm Stefan Grobe. Thank you for watching. Have an excellent week.